Welcome back, Deadheads. I'm Lupinefiasco, this is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today we're playing Gravy Bones Shipwrecked Looter. What we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I'll talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the lines I would take now, compared to the lines I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see every new upload from Daily FaB Gameplay in your video feed. You can find a FaBery link to the decklist I'm playing here in the video description below, and you'll also find a link to my Patreon page. Subscribers can get access to matchup guides for all of my tournament-winning deck lists, and weekly bonus content including draft reviews and deck techs. Want to tighten and optimize your gameplay in real life? Use my affiliate link in the video description to buy your very own Codex journal, and be sure to use code LUPINE10, that's LUPINE10, at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Finally, Daily FaB Gameplay is brought to you in part by Hemel from the Bazaar. It's never been more affordable to play in the flesh and blood. Players have been buying the cards they need from Hemel for years. I started buying from him in 2023 and have never found a better deal. The Bazaar's prices are the lowest for singles, full sets, and class sets, including new releases. High Seas set bundles, singles, and more are available now and ship both domestically and internationally. Message Hemel on Blue Sky, Discord, email, or Twitter to see what he can do for you. All aboard the gravy train. Got something special for you today. I know that US Nationals is already over, so many of you who are watching this probably don't need to draft High Seas ever again. If your LGS isn't playing it, or you aren't going to Pro Tour Singapore, I am going to Pro Tour Singapore, so maybe once a week I'll be posting one of my drafts. I'm drafting a little more frequently than that, but I've said we're a CC focused channel, but High Seas is a lot of fun. This is a great way for me to practice drafting and also make what I hope is good content out of it. So the way this is going to go is I will queue up for a draft through the Runaways Discord server, free draft queues that are then actually performed on draftmanswer.com. I'll draft a 42 card pile, take it over to FaBery, turn it into a 30 card draft deck, and then play through the members of my pod the way that one would do in a paper draft. And you don't always get all three of your games. The queue is notorious for people dropping at 0-1 because they are simulating actual Pro Tour and Nationals games where you lose if you go 0-1 in your pod. Stop dropping. So I'm going to walk through the draft. I'm going to talk about my picks and what I think I would pick and see if I agree and sort of how I want to steer my draft, and then we'll review a game, and I hope you all enjoy it. So pack one, pick one. My general philosophy with High Seas is I want to stay open basically until I know what class is open. Unlike a set like Hunted, where you really wanted to commit by pick 3 so that you can get quality reds, or even something like Rosetta, where you generally could stake a claim early on in a pack. High Seas has pirate cards and generic cards that are good in every hero, so you can stay open late into pack 1. I usually find myself committing to a hero by pack 1, pick 5, or 6, but I've drafted with guys who stay open as late as pack 2. Scurv, being a potential draftable hero, throws everything into chaos, but typically by pick 5 or 6, there will be either 2 class cards left in the pack, and that will stand out as odd, or there will be one very good class card that you would think, well, this doesn't belong in here, and the fact that it is still in the pack should indicate that this hero is open. Pack layout is that there are 5 class cards. In this pack, for example, we have 1 Gravy, 2 Puff, and 2 Marlin. There are 5 pirate or generic cards. There is 1 piece of equipment. There is a rare plus, and then a foil. Generally in the set, I do not like drafting Puffin, so if you were watching this and you think, well, God, Lupine, you should just slam the Puffin card. Puffin is wide open. I don't like drafting Puffin. I don't know how to win with Puffin. I'm sure it's very possible. In my experience, hard avoiding Puffin tends to treat me better than building what I think is a decent Puffin deck and then just losing. So I'm trying to avoid Puffin, so if you see me make some weird pick because there's like a perk up in the pack or this Cloud City Steamboat and I take something that you think is lower on your personal tier list, that's why. I don't like being Puffin. So looking at pack 1, pick 1. If I'm trying to stay open, which I am, there are immediately 3 options that jump out. And that isn't to say that I will only stay open. If this Scuba was something like a King Shark Harpoon, then I'm probably just slamming that and saying, if Marlin is open, I will draft it. I'm not married to Marlin, but I will justify my picks towards Marlin cards. But nothing in this pack really jumps out as like so game-breakingly powerful that I have to commit to a class early, which means I'm looking at 3 cards in particular. I'm looking at Golden Tipple, Mutiny on the Nimbus Sovereign, and Scar for a Scar. Nimbus Sovereign is kind of just out. In my opinion, is the worst of the 3 mutinies. Overpower in the late game can win you games, but if you're drawing your mutinies early, I like Mutiny to take tempo, so I like the +2, and I like the go again in certain classes. Nimbus Sovereign is the worst of the 3, and far below Golden Tipple and Scar for a Scar, in my opinion. Between these 2 cards in a vacuum, I like Scar for a Scar more. Scar for a Scar is playable in every hero, in every archetype. So is Golden Tipple, but Golden Tipple asks for a little more from your deck. For one thing, you need yellows, which is generally not something I want to be drafting outside of Gravy. So it's a very good card in Gravy, although red Tipple will not turn on your Gravy hero power. In Marlin, you would need gold in order to activate the Marlin ability, and Puffin is kind of, again, whatever. For one thing, I don't want to draft Puffin, but Tipple is kind of whatever in Puffin. Scar for a Scar is just 0 for 4 go again. If you have less life, if you have more life, it's 0 for 4 finisher. In my opinion, it is just the more generally useful card, and I am going to lock it in here. We're keeping in mind that we are passing 2 very good Puffin cards, well, 2 okay Puffin cards. Red Tuffled Wrench and Drawback the Hammer both work well together, but as far as 2 for 6s go, as far as 2-card plays go, Tuffled Wrench is kind of meh. It's only very good when you have cards like Drawback the Hammer. So maybe whoever drafts this Drawback is looking for the Tuffled Wrench to wheel. We're also passing a Bluefin Harpoon. It's a good one, but the Marlin commons in this pack are pretty meh. But we are, if whoever we're passing to doesn't have that same aversion to Puffin that I do, we are making a Mechanologist with this pack. We're passing 3 very good Mechanologist cards. Out of this pack, we have some more choices. We are missing a class card from this pack, so whoever's passing to us is like locked in, not locked into Puffin or Gravy, but seems to have really valued one of those commons more than anything else in this pack. I disagree with that. We've got a few good picks in this pack, namely Blue, Bark, and Ravenous Rabble. We also have very good Marlin cards in this pack. Swift Shot works well in mostly any Marlin deck, but specifically Manta. And Rusty Harpoon is very good for Cannon Marlin because it's blue block 3. We also have Hook as a blue block 3, another Scuba, which is kind of interesting. So if we wanted to lock into a class here, I'd probably just take Swift Shot, but I want to stay open, so I'm between Battlefront Bark and Ravenous Rabble, and here's where we have another decision to make. These cards are specifically good in 2 different decks. The decks that will turn on Battlefront Bark are not the decks that are going to get consistent value out of Ravenous Rabble. Ravenous Rabble belongs in Redline Puffin and Redline Marlin. Battlefront Bark belongs in Gravy, Cannon Marlin, and Pirate Puffin. So we have to make a choice, and we're going to play Ravenous Rabble. We'll play either of these cards no matter what hero we land in, but I want to take picks that work towards the most ideal version of the deck I want to play. I really like Cannon Marlin, I really like Gravy. So as fun as Manta Marlin can be, and if I wanted to draft Manta Marlin, it's very open with Ravenous Rabble. I'm going to take Bark because these are the kinds of decks that I like to play in this format. The decks that will turn on Bark, not the decks that will send Ravenous Rabble for 4 go again. But we are aware that we're making a choice here. And we immediately get punished for that choice because we see Call in the Big Guns and Fire in the Hole. And if I had taken Ravenous Rabble, I am basically hardlocking Redline Marlin right now. And as it is, I might still be justifying towards Redline Marlin. The only other card in this pack, again, I don't want to draft Puffin. I see the Sky Scammer, the Cloud Skiff, and the City Steamboat. I don't want to draft Puffin, which means that the only really good cards in this pack to keep us open are Fish Fingers and Gold Hunter Catch. Fish Fingers is good. We would like to have the point of block. Armor is really strong in this set because you can draft a very playable deck, so you should never worry about needing to take playable cards over equipment. Gold Hunter Catch is fine. It's probably the second best of the Gold Hunters behind Light Sail, the Go Again one, only because Catch is a 3-card 7 if you aren't below your opponent on gold. So between Fire in the Hole and Call in the Big Guns, I think I'm looking at taking Call in the Big Guns and really wishing that I had taken that Ravenous Rabble, because if I'm on Scar, Rabble, Call in the Big Guns, I feel really good about Redline Marlin, and I might still feel really good about Redline Marlin, but I feel worse with this Battlefront Bark. Speaking of Gold Hunter Light Sail, sorry, we don't actually see one, there's a Longboat instead, which is probably the 3rd best above Marauder. We have a Quartermaster's Boot and a Life for a Life, and both of us keep us open. We are not hard committed to anything right now. We could easily give up this Call in the Big Guns and be a different hero, but we are missing a Marlin and a Gravy card from this pack. The fact that we had a Call in the Big Guns and a Fire in the Hole in our last pack makes me think that Marlin is open, so that we are getting passed to by a Gravy. Which makes sense, we can't be Gravy anymore. We could be Puffin, but I don't want to be, which means that we're pretty locked on Marlin, and specifically Redline Marlin is where I want to start drafting towards. So we're between Life for Life and Quartermaster's Boots. And as much as I just said that you can give up playables to draft equipment, I really want this Life for Life. 1 for 4 potential Go Again with a valuable on hit is just really strong. And yes, Quartermaster's Boots is good, but I would rather take the 1 for 4 there. We see another pack with 2 Puffin cards, a Marlin and a Gravy. The rest of this pack is pretty medium. We can decide if we want to keep heading into Redline Marlin, in which case we take Glidewell Fins. If we wanted to head more towards Hammerhead Marlin, we would take Sinker as a blue block 3. It's an interesting choice. What I do want is, as much as possible, to signal to the people I'm passing to, don't be Marlin. I'm not going to take the yellow Call on the Big Guns. But between Glidewell Fins and Sinker, we have to pass a signal that Marlin is open. These are both good cards to take, but if I am sending signals that Marlin is open, I want to take Glidewell Fins instead, because I'll play it in either Marlin and be happy with it. Sinker is a lot better in Hammerhead Marlin than Manta Marlin, and I seem to be headed towards Manta. So we are going to go ahead and take that Glidewell Fins. We're immediately punished by another Glidewell Fins, though at the same time, if we had taken the blue block 3 from our last pack, we would take Glidewell here. Because we took Glidewell in our last pack, we can take the blue block 3 from this one. It's going to be Headshot. Silence of Safe Harbor is fine, but if we do end up in Manta Marlin, we're not going to want to play it. And if we end up in Cannon Marlin, we'll be happy to play Blue Headshot. So between Blue Headshot and Blue Tipple, both are strong, but Hammerhead Marlin really wants blue block 3s, and that's what Headshot does. Tipple only blocks 2, and we're not going to need the gold or the draw trigger as often with Hammerhead. This pack is aggressively medium, but there is one red ranger card in it, and that is Headshot, which is more towards Hammerhead Marlin, but we can play it in Manta. I don't love highlighting the Gold Hunter Catch there. Cool. So we end up taking the Headshot instead. To this pack, we would love to take Light Fingers if we didn't already have equipment, but that Glidewell Fins is just best in slot for Ranger, which means that in this pack, I'm between 3 cards: Yellow Call on the Big Guns, Gold Hunter Catch, or On the Horizon Yellow. On the Horizon Yellow is pretty aggressively medium, but if we do play into other Marlins, we're going to be happy to have that block card. It might be a little early. Gold Hunter Catch is, it's still kind of fine, especially if we are Cannon Marlin. It's just a big thing that we can do on 2 cards. That 2-card setting is really nice. I wouldn't be offended if I took Yellow Call on the Big Guns here, but I'm happy with the catch. We wheel, draw back the hammer, and Tough Old Wrench. Cloud City Steamboat is missing from this pack, so some Puffin at our table is going to be very happy. Again, I don't want to be Puffin. It is nowhere near too late for us to pivot into Puffin if we thought that she was open and we could salvage what we've drafted so far. We'd be throwing out Call on the Big Guns, Headshot Red, and Headshot Blue, and our arms. But I don't want to be Puffin, and those are a lot of picks to give up. If I did want to be Puffin, I'd be okay with that, but I don't want to be Puffin. So instead, we're just taking Call on the Big Guns as, like, the best card in this pack. Yellow Nimby kind of sucks. Yellow Salvage Shot is fine, but I don't want it. We're taking Rusty Harpoon here as a blue block 3 in our class. Whoever is drafting Puffin is going to be really happy with this Sky Skimmer, but for the rest of the pack, none of it matters. I guess we can take Nimby in case we find a Nimblism and a Quick Clips. And another Nimblism. I'll take Netting Shot here as a red 0 for 4, another Yellow Call on the Big Guns, and then a third one. So what are we looking for going into pack 2? I feel like we are pretty safe in our lane of being Marlin. We want more equipment, certainly. We want more red Go Again. Be that in the form of Pumps, Scar for a Scar, Ravenous Rabble, Life for a Life, Swift Shot, and that's kind of it. If we could pick up a Nimblism, a red Nimblism, we'd be really happy, and that would influence our pick priority for a card like Quick Clips. But we do have our Glidewell Fins, so we don't get to take Swift Strike Bracers. So what am I looking for going into pack 2? I'm looking for equipment. Looking for red Go Again. This pack has kind of just none of it. This is a very weak pack for us. For Gravy, we're passing a Rigor Mortis. For Puffin, we're passing a Unicycle, a Sky Skimmer, a Drawback the Hammer, and kind of this Goldwing Turbine. So we're just in a weird spot now where we're just taking the best of these bad cards. Red Sirens of Safe Harbor is probably the best card in the pack for us overall. We would just really need to prioritize blues. Probably not even blue block 3s at this point. We only have 3 blues. I want anywhere from 12 to 14 for Hammerhead Marlins, so we're just taking any blue that comes our way. The fact that we only have 3 and we need to get up to at least 12 means that we're taking 5 blues in this pack and then 4 blues in the next pack, or some combination of those. I really think Cannon Marlin is just off the table at this point. And if Cannon Marlin is off the table, then the best card in this pack for us is Trade-In, which kinda sucks, but it's 0 for 3 Go Again. If we play it from Arsenal, if we have gold, we can activate Marlin, turn that gold into a Goldfin Harpoon, and then discard it to Trade-In, and we just draw a card. Do we want to take Trade-In this early? I mean, I just don't know what else we're taking out of this pack, right? Like, Sirens of Safe Harbor is the best card for Marlin, but it's the worst card. It is not a good card for us. I guess we can take it. We'll probably wheel Trade-In, but if we take Trade-In, we probably wheel blue Call in the Big Guns, which is fine. I'm not offended by the Trade-In pick or the Sirens pick. Alright, so we do take that trade in, and we're pretty happy with it. We're a little unhappy with this pack. We wish that some of these cards had been in the last pack. I want this Sikkim Shot, I want this Scar for a Scar, I'm okay with Strike Gold, I would play Mutiny on the Swiftwater. Even Netting Shot is better than anything that was in our last pack. But between all of these cards, I think the best one is going to be Scar for a Scar. We can just take a bunch of damage and then send 0 for 4 Go Again that we don't have to load. Sikkim Shot is going to be a little harder to get value out of if we don't already have it in Arsenal to start the turn, because we either need to draw a card to load it or we're activating Manta to get it into our Arsenal, in which case we can't activate Manta again to send something like a Netting Shot. So we do end up taking that Scar for a Scar. I really like that pick. Now we have a Gold Hunter long sail. Oops. Boop. We've got that Gold Hunter long sail, but because I am Seas Marlynn, I kind of don't want costed cards, and Gold Hunter long sail does cost 1. I'm not worried about being lower on gold than my opponent because I'm not super interested in blocking. We have a Captain's Coat in this pack. Captain's Coat is not a great piece of equipment because it blocks for 0 and it has a condition to gain the resources. If this was a Buccaneer's jacket, then I'm slamming it. But because it isn't, we're looking at Drop the Anchor, we're looking at Salvage Shot as a blue block 3, and we're looking at Gold Hunter long sail. We don't need more blues. We don't want a costed card, so we're just taking Drop the Anchor as a 0 for 3, quote unquote go again. It's sort of a head jab. Out of this pack, we are looking at kind of some poop. We got the blue Sikkim Shot and blue Headshot as blue block 3s, but I'll keep harping on it. We don't care very much about those. We have a Patch the Hole, which we just passed. It's reasonable that if someone takes that last one, they would not take this one, and we can get it on the wheel. We do have 2 really good attacks in this pack, Rally the Coast Guard and Pilfer the Wreck, but we can't afford to play these. Currently we only have 3 blues, and I'm not actively prioritizing drafting other ones. So out of this pack, I'm probably going to take Patch the Hole as my piece of head equipment. I don't mind it in Marlin. It blocks for 0, but it effectively gives us flexibility with 5-card hands. So I think I'm taking Patch the Hole, and I'm hoping that I'm going to wheel the Sikkim Shot or the Headshot, or even the On the Horizon. But I think Patch the Hole is good enough, and we do need the head equipment, that we can just take it here and then wheel one of these blue block 3s. I'm not offended if I take this blue Sikkim Shot. Again, this is just kind of a bad pack for us. We have options, but none of them are good. We take the blue Sikkim Shot there. We see another Glidewell Fins. The distribution of these packs so far is pretty wonky. This is our 3rd Glidewell Fins and our 2nd Patch the Hole that we've seen, so it isn't even like we're being greedy and not taking equipment that we should draft. It's like we aren't even seeing equipment that we can draft because it's all the same equipment. This is a pretty weak pack for us. If we had more blues, then I'm probably taking Rally the Coast Guard, or drafting Seafloor Salvage because it's a blue block 3 that has utility against Gravy. But because we aren't doing either of those things, oh, I did just take it. I should have taken that Salvage Shot. Yes, it costs 1, but it has 5 power, it is anti-fatigue, and we don't need more blues. So I hate that pick. Really wanted to take that Salvage Shot there. This pick is pretty easy. We have a Dry Powder Shot, which is a 0 for 5 if we load it with Manta, so we're just going to snap pick that. What are we looking at here? We have 2 yellow arrows, which I'm not really interested in drafting. We do have yellow Charticourse, and the go again in my deck is pretty good so far. We've got 2 Scar for a Scars, a Life for a Life. We've got a Sikkim Shot in blue that we could play if we needed to turn on Charticourse. But there's a Jack Be Quick in this pack. We are actively interested in drafting Nimblism, so between all of these kind of medium yellow cards and this good red card, I am happy to speculate on Jack Be Quick and just really prioritize any Nimblisms that I see. We're between Dry Powder Shot and Flying High. I think that we are going to have a potential problem with Go Again. We have our Scar for our Scars and our Life for a Life, but we need to be at lower life than our opponent for those to be on, and we also are having to take like Headshot, Dry Powder Shot, Netting Shot. I think the Flying High is going to be better for converting hands, whereas the Dry Powder Shot just isn't, so it makes sense that I took it there, but I disagree with that pick. I think we're going to have a harder time getting value out of these hands when we're at higher life than our opponent, and we don't need more attacks. The blue, Calling the Big Gun Wield, as we thought it would, is the only playable card in this pack that we're interested in. I don't think this is good. The 0 for 5 is fine. I guess I don't super mind it. Again, I don't think there were any good picks in that pack. Blue Calling the Big Guns is okay, but really not where we want to be. Wheeling a red Sikkim Shot is like incredible. It's so good for us. Here we wheel that Patch the Hole. Here we wheel that other Patch the Hole. We're just on autopilot here. Wheeling the Glidewell Fins should tell us that there are probably 2 or 3 Marlins at this table. We're definitely not a 4 of. It makes sense that one of the other Glidewell Fins was taken, and then potentially one of the other Marlins already had gloves. We did pass that Light Fingers, and we passed a Fish Fingers, so it might just be that they didn't have room for the pick. Very reasonable that there are 3 Marlins at this table. What are we looking for going into pack 3? We need more red go again, and we need equipment. But we are starting to fill out our attacks. We know that we want more arrows because we have so many Calling the Big Guns. We have 4 currently. So if we can draft a Swift Shot very highly, that would be good. But just anything that's going to let us load an arrow, potentially give it go again, and then load another arrow with Manta is where I want to be. Out of this pack, we are taking red Charticourse. It's just good. 0 for 3 go again. It's always going to turn on one of our attacks. We're always going to get value out of it. Seeing another Glidewell Fins out of this pack is pretty wild. Here we are pretty comfortable taking this red Sikkim Shot and then noting that there's absolutely nothing from here that we want on the wheel. Seeing really good cards for other decks, right? Rusty Harpoon is great. Rally the Coast Guard Red is great. Blue Silence at Safe Harbor is fantastic. Even Expedition to Horizon's Mantle. We're taking Sikkim Shot as the only good card in this pack for us, and then we're sad when any of this comes back to us. Here, Swift Shot is an easy lock. Nothing else in this pack that we would really want to play. I guess we would take yellow Charticourse, but I'm a little worried about my ability to get go again. Here, very easy red Charticourse. Just really good. From this pack, now we are going to take this Flying High. We just need ways to convert hands, and we're pretty solid on attacks currently. That being said, we can take this Strike Gold. This is 0 for 4. It just is consistent damage. Not seeing any Nimbleisms out of these packs, which is unfortunate because we're not going to be able to play our Jack Be Quick. Also just not seeing, I mean, we are seeing equipment, but it's all gloves, which we've been good on gloves for a long time. Really looking for a boot or chest. Out of here, Life for Life, excellent pickup. Thieving Varmints is also a consideration as just a 0 for 4 that blocks 3, but Life for Life can get that go again, which we really care about. So I think that is a very safe pick for us that we're actively interested in playing. Out of this, we've got kind of nothing. I think I'm taking Netting Shot here because we have 4 Calling the Big Guns so far. We also have this Drop the Anchor, Mutiny of the Nimbus Sovereign. Maybe if it was one of the other mutinies, I'd be a little more interested in it. But Netting Shot is a 0 for 4 that works with our Calling the Big Guns, is just kind of good. And you know, it's very medium. Same with Scouting Shot. Strike Gold is good, but I care more about having arrows than I care about having non-arrows because of my Calling the Big Guns. So taking the Scouting Shot there. We wheel Expedition to Horizons Manta, which we're just going to hate draft. We wheel Yellow Charticourse, which we can take and will maybe play. But again, I'm a little nervous about my ability to get Go Again. We'll hate draft a Restless Bones. We can hate draft Expedition. I mean, maybe we play Expedition, but currently we have 31 playable cards. Expedition to Azure Keys is not going to be the one that we play. So this is our draft. What went well for us? We found a lane pretty early in Red Spine, Manta, Marlin. Our picks mostly lined up for us. We're sad that we took that Battlefront Bark as opposed to Ravenous Rabble, which would be really good here. Very sad that we never found a Nimblism, because any color of Nimblism after this Jack Be Quick is something I would have played. Red Nimblism, obviously, but even yellow and blue would have been good because we would have been able to get value from Jack Be Quick, which now we just aren't going to play. Of course, we wish we had more equipment. Currently, our equipment suite blocks for 1. I would really love to be able to block 2 or 3, but aside from the Pack 2 Quartermaster's boots, we didn't see anything that we were supposed to take and didn't. There just wasn't equipment. It was all gloves, and it was all patch the hole. And that's just unfortunate. So I wish I had more Go Again, more unconditional Go Again. Those Ravenous Rabbles, more Swift Shots. But Scar for Scars, Life for Life, Charticourses, Calling the Big Guns are good. And I wish some of these blues were reds. If we could trade Battlefront Bark for Ravenous Rabble and Seafloor Salvage for Salvage Shot, I would feel much better about this deck. As it is, I think this is probably 2-1, and it's just on me to be able to pilot it well, which we will jump into a game and see how well that goes for us. Here we have our game, paired against Hammerhead Marlin. I can tell you the breakdown of this pod was 3 Marlins, 3 Gravies, 2 Puffins. That's about what you want from any pod. A pod can really only support 2 Puffins, and I wish that one of our other Marlins had drafted Gravy, but our Gravies were pretty solid on the hero from the start. We, in our position, I think only saw the one ally, the Rigor Mortis, that we passed at the start of Pack 2. Gravy was very close in our position. We lost the die roll and are going second. I think that's fine. This is a weird matchup because Hammerhead Marlin really wants to go first and Red Spine Marlin really wants to go second. So it kind of didn't matter who won the die roll. I think we were both going to choose the same option. Our hand here is pretty good if we get to just load a Swift Shot, shoot it, send a Strike Gold. Got a Swindler's Grift coming in for 4. Marlin discards Fiddler's Green to gain 2 life and load a Bluefin Harpoon. That's really good for her. I mean, loading the Bluefin Harpoon is whatever, but being able to gain 2 life from the Fiddler's Green right at the start is really cool. It's really bad for us. Also, this 4 is just kind of an obnoxious breakpoint. We could block with our Sikkim Shot Blue, go to 19, but we're giving Marlin a second gold. We don't have any mutinies, so there isn't any reason for us to just give her free gold. And we also kind of don't have anything to do with these cards, so what we could do, if we wanted to get risky, is we could block with Glidewell Fins and Blue Sikkim Shot. If we rip a blue or a yellow off the top of our deck, we get to load Sikkim Shot with Red Spine Manta, shoot for 4 Go Again, break Glidewell Fins, load Swift Shot, shoot for 5 Go Again, and then send Strike Gold for 4, so we're sending a 4-card 13, which in Limited is not bad. But I think taking the safe path of just block with both Sikkim Shots is fine. I want to keep Swift Shot so that I always have my 2-card 8 of load Swift Shot with Manta, send Strike Gold. We're starting at a deficit, and that's pretty bad for us. We're down a gold, and we're down 2 life. So I'm not thrilled about our position. We do draw a Charticourse, though. This headshot is kind of awkward because we don't have an easy way to load it and shoot it. We could play Charticourse. Like, the easy line here is play Charticourse, load Swift Shot with Manta, shoot for 7, go again, send Strike Gold for a 3-card 11, and then Arsenal a Headshot. And the problem with that line is Headshot gets Arsenaled face down. We really want it to be face up, so we can use our Patch the Hole to pick up the Headshot on our next turn. But that's such a greedy way to use Patch the Hole. I really hope I don't have to do that, but I'm pretty sure that is just the correct line, because otherwise we are having to break our Glidewell fins, which just doesn't seem good. So the alternate line where we shoot Headshot this turn is load Swift Shot with Red Spine Manta, shoot for 4, go again, pitch Strike Gold to Glidewell fins, load Headshot, pitch Chart a Course, shoot Headshot. So instead of a 3-card 11 with an Arsenal, we're sending a 4-card 10 where we lose equipment and don't get an Arsenal. That's just wrong. So the best line here is Chart a Course, Swift Shot, Strike Gold. Are we putting a counter on Treasure Island? I think we should. Marlyn is not incentivized to block here. Well, she is incentivized to block with 2 cards, but she's incentivized to keep 2 blues in hand so that she can send Bluefin Harpoon for 8 overpower. I think we did want to put gold on Treasure Island, and I'm just too much in my head about, oh, but what if I get mutinied? And like, that's fine. It's Marlyn, it isn't gravy, she can't use gold that effectively. So you hit with Strike Gold, we're up 3 gold now, we get to Arsenal the Headshot. We draw a pretty bad hand of cards to utilize this Headshot. We have no go again. And we are getting overpowered, so we can't even just put a bunch of cards in front of the Bluefin Harpoon. This is pretty tragic. We are basically priced into blocking with Seafloor Salvage because we're going to take damage from the Harpoon. We would get our Seafloor Salvage thrown away by the Bluefin, so we are blocking with that. And then probably on our turn, we are going to Pouch the Hole our Headshot back to hand. We can load it with Manta. And then I think play Chart a Course. Pitch Chart a Course, send 6, and then Arsenal Netting Shot. We're just sad about the position we're in right now. We really, if we could just put Netting Shot or Dry Powder Shot in front of this Bluefin Harpoon, I'd be so happy. Or if I could patch the whole Headshot back to my hand and then block with it and Netting Shot and send Dry Powder next turn, it'd be so much better than what we actually get to do, which is nothing, which is be sad that we just took 5. We're gonna patch the hole. We can go down on gold in order to hopefully get out of mutiny range. We also maybe just find some go again. Like if I can break gold and draw into a Sikkim Shot, that's really good. Even drop the anchor here is fine. I'm gonna get to convert my whole hand. So I get to Manta Headshot into Arsenal, I get to play Drop the Anchor, and then I get to pitch Dry Powder Shot to send 9, and Arsenal Netting Shot, and it's like, fine. It's really the best way to use this hand. We're at least not taking an intellect penalty, which is what we were doing before. But if I could have blocked with this Netting Shot, that would have been so much better. Now I'm sending Dry Powder Shot, or I would have blocked with Headshot on the last turn, preserved more life, and I would feel much better about our position. That Overpower really screwed us up. So we're going to get to tap down Marlyn. We deal 9. I'm a little concerned for what Marlyn is going to do to us. And also concerned that I guess I can do something with this hand. Depending on how much damage we take, if we go below Marlyn's life, we can Chart a Course, Scar for a Scar, 7 go again. We can call in the big guns, send Netting Shot for 6, so we are threatening 15 on Marlyn's 9. It means that I'm taking damage here because I want Marlyn to put me low so that my Scar for a Scar is online. Alternatively, we could block with Battlefront Bastion or Battlefront Bark and play Chart a Course, call in, send Netting Shot for 9, and then Arsenal the Scar for a Scar. But at a certain point, we do need to be lower on life so that we can actually get go again and start converting these hands. Let's see what Marlyn does with the rest of her turn. She did not get the blue from Swell. I'm sending Salvage Shot for 6. We could block with Call in the Big Guns. Bark and Glidewell fins, then send Netting Shot for 7. And I kind of don't hate that. Alternatively, we can just take 6, go to 6, send Scar for a Scar with Chart a Course for 7, and then send Netting Shot for 6, probably pitching Bark into gold to draw a card and just hope that it's something better. I don't want to Arsenal the Bark, but unfortunately I can't block with it because then I'm not online. Now what I could do is block with the Bark, go to 9 all, do Call in, Chart a Course, send Netting for 9, get a card out of Marlynn. It's probably what I'm supposed to do actually. We get a 4-card 12, we Arsenal Scar for a Scar. If Marlynn has a big turn, then she puts us low and Scar now has go again. Alternatively, we still have our Flying High in deck, maybe we draw into that. And because Marlynn is on Hammerhead and has Overpower, we do want to maintain a bit of a healthy life total. Our life is worth more than hers. Weird turn. I think blocking with Bark here is correct. I don't like blocking with Call in the big guns. This does put us lower, but we don't have a good way to use the Bark besides pitching to gold. And that just isn't great. Now here we draw into another Scar for a Scar, so we're going to send first Scar for 7. We can then send Netting Shot for 4, threaten lethal. We can Arsenal the other Scar for a Scar, which potentially then will be online next turn. Marlynn takes 2, gains 1 from Siren, so effectively... Oh, I hate this. Oh, this is really bad. What am I doing? I'm trying to stay low on gold. Oh, because we were just shown a catch. Is that what happened? Why did I block? Or why did I break gold? I just didn't? Yeah, that's a really bad idea. It works out for us because we draw into a life for a life, but like, this is a terrible plan. I'm just really overly worried about Mutiny here, and I don't like that. Did I see a catch? I remember there being a catch in this game, and yes, I did see a catch. I saw a catch from the Saltwater Swell, so that's why I broke the gold, because I want to be lower on gold so that Marlynn has to work for it. Showing us a Gold Hunter Light Sail, using a Marlynn activation, going down to 0 gold, patching the hole, something to hand, playing Tipple. Marlynn discards the harpoon that she just made. So we have a life for a life in hand and an arsenal. We have 2 blue block 3s and a trade in. What I would like to do, if I can, is go down to 1 so that my 2 life for lives both have go again. If the first one gets blocked for 3, Marlynn takes 1, we gain 1, we go to 2 to her 3. Then we send the second life for a life, which threatens lethal, puts her down to 2, us up to 4, us up to 3. And then we could send trade in, which is lethal. So if I could do that, I'm very happy. That means I'm not blocking this Tipple. Also, I really want Marlynn to get the gold from Treasure Island so that we're both at 2. She doesn't have an easy way to go down to 1 gold unless she just pays for it. But depending on what, we make her work for it, and we want to go lower than Marlynn on life. So this works, this worked well in both ways. Marlynn gets a gold, which she is going to pitch to, draws into a card. Is she going to be able to send catch? Or, I mean, she can. It just depends on what else she's doing with her hand. She had 2 reds, so this is great for us. Now, what did I say? We really want to go down to 1 if we can, which means that we should just put a 3 block in front of this, go to 1, and then get to do life for a life, trade in. Threaten lethal 3 times, Marlynn has no hand. So we strip 3 cards from her, and then she probably doesn't have much to do. We're also out of overpower range because we will have a block 3 and our Glidewell fins. So we should just block this with Rusty Harpoon, go to 1, and then be able to do life for life trade-in. The fact that I'm blocking with Glidewell fins at all here means that I am about to screw it up. Because if we could just send life for life, and it's threatening 8. The problem is that I want to take a 3rd card from Marlynn. I don't want to let her have 2 cards because that now gives her the option to pitch a blue into a gold, draw a card, load an arrow. If she draws a 0-cost arrow and has a blue, she gets to hammerhead shoot. I really want to take cards out of her hand. So blocking 4 here going to 2 does screw us up because Marlynn can just put a 3 block in front of the life for life. And I think what I was thinking here is that she's not going to let this hit. She's going to put 2 cards in front of this, and then the second life for life has go again. But if she just puts a 3 in front of it, then the second life for life doesn't have go again. We're still going to get to send it. Breaking the gold here just kind of doesn't make sense. What this does, I guess, is we can break Glidewell fins, load the netting shot, shoot for 5, and potentially put Marlynn down to 1. This was just a weird line, and I screwed it up by not blocking better. I should be at 3 here and taking 1 more card out of Marlynn's hand, and if we get to do that, then Marlynn kind of just doesn't have a play. And we get to... I mean, she might have had a play because she still would have gotten to do this. But if she maybe would have had to block with a headshot, she wouldn't have gotten to do this. If this was the line, we still are in an interesting position where we can activate Marlynn, turn a gold into a harpoon, send trade in, discard draw, pitch whatever we draw into Glidewell fins, load, scouting shot, call in, shoot. Instead, we have to make a call. Do we want to go to 1, or do we want to threaten 3 into 9? And I think we're supposed to threaten 3 into 9, because we're going to take Marlynn's whole hand, and she doesn't get to overpower an arrow. She also just doesn't have a harpoon. So I think blocking with the call and the big guns here makes sense math-wise. We're saving 2 life and not dealing 2 damage. But I really want to strip Marlynn's hand, and I don't think I get to do it with this line. So if we were threatening 9 here, Marlynn has to give us 3 cards. Instead, we can threaten 7, and Marlynn only has to give us 2 cards, and that's why I am going to struggle with how this actually works. But the way I want to do this is activate Glidewell fins, pitching flying high, send scouting shot for 8. Now what I'm not understanding here is that Glidewell fins needs to load the arrow in order to give it +1. So if we already have an arrow in arsenal, then it just doesn't work. But sending the 8 here does make sense because we want to strip Marlynn's hand, or at least we want to strip Marlynn's hand, which we get to do if we send 8. Now imagine that we were sending 2 more here. Marlynn is dead. So that's where we made a really big game-losing mistake here, is by blocking with that call on the big guns instead of shooting it. We're also now in a position where it's a little difficult for us to get value out of this yellow charter course because we're missing the resources that we need. What we would like to do is load Sikkim Shot, fire the Sikkim Shot, load Dry Powder Shot, charter course, shoot. But we don't have the resources to do it. And we don't have, what we would want is a blue that we could pitch into gold to draw a card, trigger Marlynn, load and shoot Sikkim Shot, then Red Spine Manta, charter course 8. And instead, we can pitch charter course into gold. If we draw a blue or a yellow, then this line kind of works. We still get to send 9. So we do send the Chart a Course. We are going to get to do this whole line where we'll send 4 into 8. Unfortunately, depending on what Marlynn has left in her hand, 4 into 8 is covered by 12. She can block 3 here, go to 1, and then block 9 on the dry powder shot. And that is going to be what happens because she'll discard a card to rally the Coast Guard. We are in range of getting fatigued, which is where I'm having an issue here, where we're going to lose this game. So we're also at higher life, meaning that Scar for a Scar is offline. And I think our Marlynn opponent was good enough to actually anticipate that this is happening, which is why she went so low on life, to prevent the go again from Scar for a Scar. We only have 1 blue in hand, so we don't have a way to turn on Bark. This turn is just not good. I think our best line here is gonna be send Scar for a Scar, honestly. Get rid of the 2 block, and Flying High will let us convert. We get to send 5 go again into 4 with Scouting Shot, but again, Marlynn has more cards in deck, and has Hammerhead, and has gold for Harpoon. So all she needs to do is just live, which she's going to be able to do. She can put 2 cards in front of the Scar for a Scar, 2 cards in front of the Netting Shot. We have 4 cards left in our deck. She just needs to wait us out, which is what she's going to be able to do. And we don't have gold anymore, so we can't do our loop of turn gold into a Harpoon, load it with Manta, and then shoot for 2. We also don't have any, we only have 2 blues left in our deck, so we can't turn on Bark. If I could turn on Bark here by pitching 2 blues, then we're maybe in a position where we could win, because Marlynn has to give us 3 cards and then potentially can't kill us. She gives us 3 cards, can't kill us, we load and shoot Tri-Powder Shot, and then we win, but we can't turn on the Bark. So instead, we just Bark for 5. Marlynn gives us 2 cards and then kills us. Or we Tri-Powder for 5 and Marlynn blocks 2 cards and kills us. But we are going to lose this game. So, big things that went wrong were, the really big one was blocking with Call in the Big Guns instead of playing it. We would have gone to 1 and then killed Marlynn, and I was just too concerned with my ability to live through an overpowered Harpoon, but that was never going to be an issue because we're stripping Marlynn's hand and she can't put it together. The other issue was staying too high on life so that we couldn't play 2 Life or Life with Go Again. We could only play the 1 and then burn a resource. We also just drafted in a way where I think this yellow Chart a Course could have been yellow Call in the Big Guns. I believe I cut a Call in the Big Guns for a chart thinking that I was going to have more overpower than I actually did. If this was yellow Call in the Big Guns, we would have gotten to send the Headshot for 6, which is potentially enough to take more cards out of Marlynn's hand. Just some very subtle misplays, and that's kind of the way that Red Spine Marlynn works. It's a very good deck, but you need to play it very tight because every card matters, and as soon as you don't deal damage, you block instead of dealing damage, or you deal damage instead of blocking, you lose the game. And that's kind of what happened here. A very subtle misplay, choosing 2 defense instead of 2 offense cost us. And so that's a really good lesson to keep in mind for future drafts. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. I hope this is relevant to you and that you have an opportunity to actually learn more about High Seas Draft before you go and do it yourself. And if that is the case, be sure to smash that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out a lot. I have a Blue Sky, a Discord, and a Patreon, links to which are in the video description below. I will be back next week with more daily FaB gameplay, and until then, take care.